When I decided to get really serious about overhauling my financial situation, maybe like 2 years ago, I knew that I needed a way to track my progress so that I'd be able to stay the course. I knew that if I felt like I was just spinning my wheels rather than being able to see my progress or notice my progress, I would be way more likely to give up and stop trying to improve my financial situation. I really love bullet journaling. Bullet journaling is basically just like artsy journaling in a journal that instead of having lines or blank pages, instead has dots on the pages. So in today's video, I wanted to show you one of the financial trackers that I have in my bullet journal that has really helped me to track my financial progress and my financial goals. And I'm gonna make a savings goal tracker with you so that you can see how I use trackers to progress towards my financial goals. I hope that seeing some of my trackers will inspire you to think about your finances in a new way and help you to visualize them a little bit better and create some trackers for yourself so that you're able to monitor your progress and hopefully improve your finances. Before we get started today, I wanted to just point out that I am not a financial expert. I'm just sharing what has worked for me, and this tracker has been really helpful for me, and trackers in general have been really helpful for me in my financial journey. However, the process that I've used or the steps that I've taken or the ways that I've saved or paid off money might look very different for you depending on your personal situation. So go ahead and use what you feel like could be helpful for your financial journey, but adapt it, of course, to your specific needs. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is a financial tracker that has been my main financial tracker over the years that I have used to monitor my progress towards several financial goals. And this is what it looks like. It's very colorful, and we'll go through all of the different pieces in a little bit. But when I started my financial journey, I actually drew on some of the advice that Dave Ramsey provides in his Total Money Makeover book. Should I show you that book? I gotta go get it out of the thing. Hang on. This is Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book. It's been helpful for me in some ways, but I have also adapted his plan to meet my needs a little bit more. So just as I was saying to you that I might do things with my finances that are different than you would do with your finances, I've kind of taken that as well from his book and picked out the things that are really helpful for me and used them, and then adapted the things that don't work so well for me or that would work better if I tweaked them a little bit. So I would encourage you to do the same with this video. And if you're going to read this book, read it as well, just so that you can get some advice about what you might be able to do, but of course, adapt it for your situation because everyone's situation is different. So the first baby step that Dave Ramsey outlines is to have a $1,000 emergency fund. With times as crazy as they are right now, again, having a larger than a $1,000 emergency fund might be a bigger priority for you. But when I initially started my financial journey, $1,000 was enough for me at the time. So the first thing I wanted to put on my financial tracker was that I wanted to save $1,000 for an emergency fund. So you can see right here, I decided to just make a mason jar. I thought it looked cute and was pretty easy to draw. I just Googled a couple drawings and tried to figure out one that I felt like I could draw. And then I drew it in here and I divided it into sections, 10 different sections for $100 each. And so then when I was able to save $100 for the emergency fund, then I would color in that section. So the second baby step, or the second recommendation that Dave Ramsey makes in his book, Total Money Makeover, is to pay down your debt. There are kind of two different ways that you can pay down your debt. One is called a debt snowball and one is called a debt avalanche. A debt snowball is basically where you line up all of your debts and you line them up by the amount of money that you have left to pay off. So you line them up least to greatest. So if you have a $100 debt and a $1,000 debt and a $10,000 debt, the $100 debt goes first and then the $1,000 debt and then the $10,000 debt. And then you would pay them off in that order. Really, the idea behind this is sort of psychologically, it can be really rewarding to pay down a debt. And so if you have a smaller debt that you can pay off quickly first, it can be a huge confidence booster knowing that you paid off one already and you have one less debt to worry about. The debt avalanche is a little bit different. You would line up all your debts by the amount of interest, highest to lowest, that you're incurring on each of those debts. And then you'd be paying off the debt with the highest amount of interest first, and then start paying off the ones in descending order based on interest. Technically, you're saving money over the long term because you're paying off the one with the highest interest first. A quick internet search will help you decide if a debt snowball or a debt avalanche makes more sense for you and might help distill that information a little bit better than I have in this video. So I would encourage you to look at both options if you do have debt to pay off to figure out which method might make the most sense for you. So I decided to go with the debt snowball. I had some smaller debts that I owed to family or friends that I really wanted to knock out first. Even though I wasn't paying interest on those debts, it was really important to me that I pay those people back because I so appreciated that they had helped me out when I was in a hard time. And then I moved on to my larger debts that were, for example, my car loan. That was money that I had to pay back to an institution, and so I did have to pay interest on that money, but it was really important to me to knock out those smaller debts to my family and friends first. I included this in my tracker down here, and I included all of the debt amounts that I had, kind of a quick description of what they were and then the amount they were. And then with the debt snowball method or the debt avalanche method, you do want to be paying the minimum payment on all of the debts that you have, and then just throwing any extra money towards whichever one you're fighting first or trying to pay off first. So in my tracker, I do have a column here that says new payment on it. And that's really because when you're doing a debt snowball or a debt avalanche, you're probably paying minimum payments on all of the different loans or the different debts that you have. Once you pay off that first debt, you will be able to use the minimum payment that you had been paying for that debt and contribute it to the next debt that you have. So let's say you owe a minimum payment on your first debt of $20, and you're also able to give an extra $100 a month to pay off that debt. So you're contributing $120 to that specific debt. Once you pay off that debt, now you have that extra $100 to contribute to the next debt, but you also have that extra $20 because you're no longer paying the minimum payment on that debt anymore because it's paid off. So now you can contribute $120 plus the minimum payment for the second debt. So if your second debt had a minimum payment of $50 that you had been paying every single month, now you'll be able to contribute $50, which is the minimum payment for that debt, plus the extra $120 you had been contributing to the first debt. If you are at all confused about this or want a more in-depth explanation, just do a quick internet search of debt snowball or debt avalanche, and you can read a couple articles or watch a couple videos specifically on that to figure out how to formulate your chart in a way that makes sense for you. So the way that made sense for me was, again, I had the name of the debt, I had the total amount of debt that I owed, and then if there was any minimum payment, I included that here, and then the new payment. That way, once I was done with the debt, I could figure out what the new payment for my next debt would be. Here she comes, Miss America. Maisie, now's not the time for pets. You gotta go, sweetie. Go up there. No, jeez, no, go. Yeah, get a shake out, lay down. Good girl. Sometimes I feel like I should take her collar off while I was making these videos or she'll just yawn. I was gonna say because her collar tags won't jingle then, but instead she just yawns or like scratches herself and it makes a bunch of noise anyway. So hopefully she'll just go to sleep. So the next page of my financial tracker is my debt snowball. So like I mentioned before, I decided to go with the debt snowball. And so then the way that I did it was I lined up my debts with the lowest amount all the way to the highest amount. And then I did the same thing on this page. Then I needed to think about what was a realistic amount of money that I felt like I could pay off that would be meaningful to me to be able to color in on this page. So for me, I decided to split all of my amounts that I owed in debt into $50 increments. So as you can see, I decided that every single square was going to be $50. And then every time I colored in a square, it would be every time I had saved or contributed $50 to pay off towards that debt. So this debt here was $555. I added all the squares and then I made a little note every time that I paid it off. So I went all the way down to my highest debt amount and included all those little squares. You could definitely make your boxes be $100 or $1,000 even if you wanted to, if you felt like that was more realistic for you and for the amounts of debt that you have. But for me, $50 felt good. Again, adjust this to your situation. So maybe you have a smaller debt or $10 seems more realistic for you or $20 seems more realistic for you. That's totally fine. You can do whatever works for you. $50 just made sense for me. So that's what I went with. And I went with that all the way down. So you can see as my debt amounts got higher and higher, there were more and more boxes that I ended up having to fill in. So these first couple debts were a lot quicker for me. I was able to knock them out more quickly because there weren't as many boxes. I didn't have to save as much money to be able to pay down that debt. But as I'm getting to the bottom here with my car loan is the big one that's left, I still have a bunch of boxes to fill in because it's just a bigger debt and it's going to take me longer, and that's okay. This tracker, this entire tracker has been really motivating for me because when I started out, it was all white. There wasn't anything filled in. There was no color on it. It was just kind of like the writing that was there and nothing else. But as I was paying off debt, I was seeing this tracker get more colorful and more colorful and more colorful. And that helped me to know that I was making progress and that I was paying off the debt and I was saving the money and I was doing all the things that I needed to do to get my financial situation in a better place. You could definitely make a tracker like this on a piece of paper or on a poster and put it in your bedroom or on your refrigerator somewhere where you'd see it every day, or you could make it in a journal. Really, any way you want to do it is totally fine. I ended up leaving this spread out on my dresser for a while just because I wanted to see it all the time and have it really motivate me to color in the boxes. And I would look back at it every week or sometimes once a month if I wasn't saving money weekly. If I was just contributing money monthly, then I would look at it once a month and get to color in some of those boxes. And that was always really exciting for me to see, again, the color getting added to the page and know that color being added to the page meant that I was making progress on my financial goals. Your tracker could be way more fancy than this, or it could be way more basic than this. Any way that you want to do this is totally fine. If you're looking for some inspiration, I usually go on Pinterest and just look up money trackers or financial trackers or money bullet journals. That usually helps me to get inspired and see what other people have done to be able to track their finances and gives me a good idea of where to start. This was just a theme, a color theme, and some ideas that really I liked and decided to go with, but yours could look lots more artsy or way more basic if you wanted it to. Whatever you want to do is great. Also, y'all, I got a new background. What is this? My mom was like, you should sit on that chair and you have cute bookshelves there. But I don't have a tripod that's tall. And so I always like set it on something. And so unless you want to give me a tall tripod, Mom, that's probably not going to happen. Anywho, moving on. So now I wanted to show you what it looks like for me to make a savings goal tracker for my savings goals for 2020. I had about 7 trips that I wanted to take this year, but the number of trips that I want to take keeps going down just because the world is so crazy right now. I need to save, I think it's a little bit more than $2,000 for all of these trips. And so I want to make a tracker to make sure that I am making progress towards those savings goals and saving the amount of money that I need prior to the trips so that when I take the trip, I know that I already have the money saved and I don't need to worry about where that money is coming from. So I showed this sheet in a previous video, but I wanted to show you one more time. Again, before I take any trips, I want to make sure that I crunch all the numbers and think about how much is the flight going to cost? How much are accommodations going to cost? What is food going to cost me? What are activities or excursions going to cost me? And start to kind of think through how much money might this trip cost me so that I have an estimate of how much money I need to save. So I basically just create a sheet like this. I go through each of my trips and I outline like how much do I think each of those things is going to cost me and then come up with like a trip total. So I do that for all of my trips so that I can figure out kind of roughly how much money I feel like I will need to save for that trip. Again, so that I can save for it and not go on a trip that's going to put me into more debt. When you're planning a big purchase or wanting to take a trip, it's really important that you think about this in advance and make sure that you have a plan so that you know that it will work out and that you can afford that thing. So just like I've done for my travel plans, you could do this for a house that you're saving for, or a car, or if you need, I don't know, a new couch, or even like for something like the winter holidays. You could think through how much am I going to need to spend on gifts and extra food and parties and add up that whole number so that you can start saving now for that rather than having an oh crap moment by the time that finally comes and not knowing where that money is going to come from. I think now I'm going to try to flip this camera around and just show you a little bit about what it looks like for me to create a tracker for these savings goals that I have for 2020 based on the trips that I'm taking in 2020 and based on the amount of money I anticipate needing to be able to spend on all of these trips. So as I mentioned, I was going to make a tracker for my 2020 savings goals, which are mostly my travel goals. And so like I mentioned, I outlined those all on this sheet. And I've totaled them up, and based on the amount of trips that I'm going to be taking, I imagine I'm going to need to save around $2,500, just shy of that, for the absolute essential trips, hopefully, that I can take. And then there might be the possibility that I want to save more than that for other trips, but I'm just going to go with the minimum for now, which is $2,500. So there's a couple different ways I could break that down. I could break it down so that I am tracking how much that I need to spend every single month until those trips happen, or I could break it down more similar to this last tracker where I have each trip as a separate line item and then broken down into individual boxes. I think I'm going to outline mine as if I'm saving month by month for these trips so that I know how much money I need to set aside every single month for the trips. So I'm just going to get started drawing. I'm going to make a little banner at the top probably, and then break down all of the months that I have left until the end of the year. I do sometimes get frustrated when I'm making these because I'll do something and then it won't be like perfectly centered or something will go wrong with it, but we're just gonna go with it and keep on making this tracker. I think I'm going to break my total amount, my $2,500 down by months. So I'm gonna take that $2,500 and divide it by how many months I have left in the year, which it's the end of March now, so I still have April. So I have April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So I have 9 months left. So I'm going to break this into 9 sections and then divide 2,500 by 9 to figure out how much money I need to save each month. All right, so now that I've got all of the flags drawn here, I'm just gonna write the months in them because I decided that I wanted to break out my tracker by month and by how much I need to save each month. So I'm gonna include the names of all of the months left in this year to each of the ribbons. Okay, so now that I have all of my months listed out, I just need to figure out how much money I need to save each month. And so if I'm trying to save roughly $2,500, I need to divide that by 9 by the number of months that I have to save. So if I need to save about $278 a month and I divide that into $25 increments, each month will have about, I guess, just a little bit more than 11 increments per month. So I'm going to draw those out now. So this is by no means beautiful, but I just wanted to show you or give you an idea of what I would do. So then I need to include down here or somewhere on here how much each of these boxes equals. So down here, I'm gonna show that one of these boxes, if it were filled in, equals $25. So at the end of each month, I will have saved $275. If you multiply that by 9 months, the amount that I'm going to have after 9 months worth of saving would be $2,475, which, if you remember, I rounded up a little bit with what I needed to save. I said $2,500, but really what I actually need to save is $2,470. So I will be saving that amount with some money to spare. And I could add some more information down here. I could say like my goal I could include down here, or like a little quote. I could color this in. I could add lots of different things down here just to add a little bit of color and fun to the bottom here. So I'm gonna quick color this in. So there you have it. This is just a basic tracker that I could create for my travel. Again, you could do this for any savings goal that you have coming up. You could do this for a house, or you could do it for a car or a new wash machine, or if you're taking a trip, any of those things you could make a savings tracker for. This is just one example. In this example, I broke it down by the amount of money that I would need to save each month. But again, reflecting back to my other tracker, you could also break it down by like each of the trips that you're taking instead. And so some of the lines might be longer, or maybe this one is you're saving for a wash machine and this one is you're saving for a car. You could do lots of different things with your trackers. This is just one way to do a savings tracker. And so this is just one example. The sky's the limit. Get creative and create a financial tracker that works for you and that helps you feel inspired to meet your financial goals. So thanks for watching this video. I want you to think about whether or not a financial tracker or a money tracker of some kind could help you to meet your financial or money goals and to monitor your progress towards those goals. You can always make these on a sheet of paper or on a poster or in a journal. Any way that you want to do it works, but it's just helpful to see your financial goals just outlined visually and to be noticing your progress towards them. I would really love to see your trackers, so if you want to add a picture to the comments below, or if you want to tag me in a picture of one of your trackers that you've created on Instagram, I would love to see them and see the creative ideas that you all have for visually seeing your financial goals and visually tracking your financial goals. If you're interested in seeing more videos about money and personal finance, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can be the first to know when I upload a new video. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up button. I can't wait to see you in the next video. And in the meantime, happy tracking.